I want to get into the Pentagon and the whole question of due diligence, everything from toothpaste procurement to defense interceptors and even personal integrity. But before we get there, earlier today Jared Kushner sat down with Benjamin Netanyahu. I'm not sure who's actually taking that conversation seriously at this point, but what do you think Kushner might have told him?
Development project, which is part of Donald Trump's vision for resolving the Israeli-Palestinian issues. I think Kushner is reiterating the reality that his project is not not realistic to begin with, is a non-starter if Israel doesn't abide by its commitments. If Israel continues to carry out acts of violence against the Gazans. So I think Kushner is trying to lay the groundwork for normalization of Israeli actions in Gaza. I think he's barking up the
No
wrong
pun
tree.
intended with the barking there, but there's no way Netanyahu voluntarily pulls out of Gaza or Lebanon. Before you respond, let me bring up Itamar Ben-Gvir, who essentially runs Israel's domestic security apparatus. Here's something he said over the weekend. Honestly, one of the more repellent things I've heard from him. What kind of government official, someone commanding armed forces, can be taken seriously after saying that? Given his position, you have to take him seriously. But what kind of official says that out loud? This doesn't sound like a government. It sounds like a criminal enterprise.
Now, look, Israel's gone full circle. This is literally behavior that's reminiscent of Nazi Germany. Literally behavior that's reminiscent of Nazi Germany and the extermination policies that the Nazis had about the Jews is being played forward today, where Israeli Zionists are carrying out similar policies against the Palestinians, policies of extermination. There was another Israeli official that talked about the necessity of purging 14 to 16-year-olds in the Palestinian ranks to kill them while they're young. I mean, this is a sickness. Why we two questions. Why we tolerate the continued existence of a state that fosters this kind of thinking is beyond me. The fact that the Israeli government doesn't condemn these people and purge these people implicates the Israeli government completely in the policies being proposed and promulgated here. But it makes Israel a criminal regime, and the United States should we should treat them as such, but we don't. Instead, we have legislation trying to link this genocidal state with the United States, to link a military that would carry out the orders that Ben-Gvir is suggesting with our own military. I mean, come on, America, wake up. We don't want to be tainted by the stain of, greater Israel, this Zionist project. We shouldn't be trying to be allied with these people. We should be seeking their extinction as a nation, not an extinction as a people, but as a nation. No nation that embraces the philosophies espoused by Ben-Gvir and others should be allowed to exist in the modern age.
The U.S. has a military access agreement with Oman and has traditionally treated it as an ally. Over the weekend, Trump threatened to bomb Oman. What's this about? Does he even know what he's talking about?
Oman right now is in direct negotiations with Iran about the Strait of Hormuz, and it's in the interest of Oman to get traffic flowing through the Strait of Hormuz. The United States very much. If you remember the last time we had an agreement about the Strait, the United States got the Omanis to agree to open up their corridor to unauthorized traffic, and then the Iranians found out and terminated. So now Oman's in the process of a negotiation that sort of locks the United States out of the transit of the Hormuz, Strait of Hormuz business. And I think it frustrates Donald Trump because, part of his goal is to be able to say, I have control over the Strait of Hormuz. And one way he would be able to at least imply partial control is if he had an agreement with the Omani about America having a stake in the Omani percentage of the traffic. But I think Oman has nudged him aside, and he's not very happy about this.
Right. Today marks the 60th day since the Memorandum of Understanding, or actually yesterday was day 60, so today is technically the first day past it. Under its terms, that agreement allows Iran, and whoever it chooses to work with, in this case, Oman, to charge service fees, client fees, environmental fees, essentially whatever it deems reasonable. Trump can't actually stop that, can he?
I mean, Trump can say that the MOU is no longer in effect, but he signed it. So that's a problem. That's a problem for Trump. But agreements mean nothing. I mean, look, the Russians have said from day one the United States is agreement incapable, and the Iranians concur. The Iranians say that they're just simply not going to deal with the United States, with the Trump administration, as long as Trump is president. So, there's no agreement in place between the United States and Iran right now. I don't think you're going to see the Iranians holding up the MOU saying, you signed it, we're going forward. I think the Iranians have acknowledged the United States long ago walked away from the MOU. But there's nothing Trump can do to stop the Iranians from doing anything anyways, MOU or not. I just want to remind your audience, Iran won this war. We didn't. Iran gets to dictate the terms of conflict termination. We don't.
Do you think the Pentagon actually recognizes the truth in what you just said? I'm not asking about the White House, specifically the Pentagon.
The Pentagon knows that there is no military solution to the problem set that is before them, and the problem set before them deals with the Strait of Hormuz, with Iran's nuclear program, and with the continued existence of Iran's ballistic missile capabilities. These three things were laid out. I mean, the resolving of these issues by military force were the key military missions given the United States military. They failed on all accounts, and there is no military means by which the United States can accomplish any of these. Now, Pete Hegseth can spin words any way he wants to, but if you say that victory is predicated on gaining control of the Strait of Hormuz, gaining control of the totality of Iran's nuclear program, and terminating Iran's ballistic missile force, and you have failed on all three, that means you didn't accomplish your military missions. And because the reason why you failed to accomplish your military missions is because of the armed resistance of Iran, then you lost the war. It's as simple as that. I think Kane knows this. All the generals know this. They're not going to come straight out and say this, but they all acknowledge, and they all are advising this president, that there is no military solution to the problems that exist today with Iran.
What kind of due diligence did the Pentagon actually do? From toothpaste on the USS Abraham Lincoln to defense interceptors and everything in between. Don't they know how much they have, how much they can use, and what to keep in reserve? Or do they just use this stuff without even counting it?
Well, I mean, it's not just the Pentagon's due diligence. It's the due diligence of every commanding officer who has a logistical support requirement to the troops he or she leads. I mean, if I'm a battalion commander, I don't get on the ship unless I have, all the beans, bullets, and bandages I need to get the job done. And if I don't have them with me, I have a resupply plan in place, and that resupply plan has to have annexes that account for, reality, disruption. We have to have a plan A, a plan B, a plan C, a plan D, all the way as far as it goes. We have to have a plan to keep an operation logistically sustained. The Pentagon should not have embarked on any large-scale military operation against Iran without doing a full logistical support, workup. And this is for everything: naval forces, air forces, etc. You don't start an air camp. I can just say from Desert Storm, I can guarantee you, and I know this is a statement of fact, we didn't start anything in Desert Storm unless we made sure we had the logistics to go forward. And our logistics always has, a huge buffer built in for all of the unknowns and the unknowables. Like maybe in Iran, if during the Gulf War, the Iraqis fired a Scud missile that landed very close to the USS Tarawa while it was offloading at a port in Saudi Arabia. It missed a pier by just 100 yards. Had it impacted either one of those, the subsequent explosion would have taken out a good percentage of the ammunition that was being offloaded at that time. We had a plan in place in case that happened, because we weren't going to be in a situation where one Iraqi Scud missile changed the entire war. We already had an excess amount of ammunition in place, in stock, ready to go. We had alternative ports lined up. We had ways to guarantee that we got what we needed to the troops so they could do their jobs. We weren't going to run out of gas, run out of ammunition, run out of food, run out of water. It just wasn't going to happen because we planned the hell out of this war. That's the kind of due diligence that's necessary. We started an air campaign where we had to divert significant resources to hunt down Scuds in Western Iraq. And to do so, we had to, recalculate everything to include types of munitions, et cetera. We had excess. We had made sure that we had buffered the resources so that when we made this shift and we increased, the sortie rate, et cetera, we had the means to do that and then shift back. This is called how you win a war. We went to war here without any of that. We changed the plan 5 times in the first 10 days. And each time we changed it, it was increasing the scope and scale of the conflict, which means that if we hadn't factored that in on day one, now we're running around thinking, well, how do we get this? How do we get that? How do we get this? And then people are supposed to be counting up going, wait a minute, you've expanded the target deck and we have more targets than we have munitions. What happens if this campaign gets to the end of it and we've run out of ammo? Has anybody thought about this? No, nobody thought about that. The enemy keeps launching missiles. We're running out of interceptors. Has anybody thought about that? No. I mean, it is not a plan to say, spontaneously we'll just pull THAAD out of South Korea, because there's a huge bunch. THAAD is an advanced air interceptor capability. A whole bunch of politics went into getting that THAAD in South Korea, assuring the South Koreans that was there to say and that we were serious about, because it really got the Chinese mad. And the Chinese reoriented some of their military towards South Korea and made the South Koreans nervous. But don't worry, we're here to stay. We told the Japanese we're going to give you 400 Tomahawks, but we're also giving you a bunch of PAC-3 Patriots so that you can secure your air, you can strike, etc. Don't worry, we're here to stay, Japan. And we stripped it all away and didn't sell them the Tomahawks, and they're now sitting there naked. That is because we didn't plan. We didn't plan for this. When you send the USS Abraham Lincoln out on a deployment, you have to have a plan in place. Don't tell me that your plan was resources in Bahrain. Bahrain is on the wrong side of the Strait of Hormuz. We know we can't secure it. And if the Iraqi or the Iranians shut it down, all the supplies that are there ain't getting to the ship out here. So where was your plan B? Oh, there's a port facility in Saudi Arabia that we were going to fly things in. But then people said, that's too close to the Iranian missiles. We can't resupply out of that. What's your plan C? Diego Garcia. Okay. But did you stock Diego Garcia up? Or does stuff have to come in there now? And then how do you get it from Diego Garcia to the ship? Do you have a giant, resupply ship that's been allocated to this task, identified, put on station, ready to go? And if the answer is no, you don't have a plan. And this is what happened. They sent the ships in there. The ships had to change their plan, and the whole resupply thing went to hell in a handbasket, and we're just making it up as we go along. This is not how you fight a war. This is how you lose a war, which is why we lost the war.
So who's actually to blame here for what looks to me like a basic failure of due diligence, Scott? What you just explained, as fascinating as it is, should honestly be second nature to these people, shouldn't it?
Oh, you learn from day one that, an army fights on its stomach, and, logistics is the king of battle. If you don't have a logistics plan, it's over. You know the old one, for the want of a nail, I lost the war, and it goes on.
Right.
This is true. Who's to blame? Pete Hegseth. He should be fired immediately. Fired. Straight up fired. Bradley Cooper, fired. To be honest, if the chairman of Joint Chiefs of Staff had any review process of this, fired. Anybody with a 4 stars, 3 stars, 2 stars, 1 stars, a bird, fired. If you're a logistics officer in a battalion, fired. If you're a logistics officer on a ship, fired. This is a logistics failure. At some point in time, somebody has a responsibility to raise their hand and say, hey, this ain't happening, boss. That's what the 4's job is. The S4, the G4, the J4 supposed to turn to commanding officer and said, your plan is not sustainable. I cannot logistically support it. If you initiate contact with the enemy, we will run out of ammo by day 33 or whatever. Who did it? And if he did it, did he do it in writing? Because that's what you got to do. You got to have the cojones to put it down in writing and say, my career's on the line, but I have a responsibility bigger than trying to get, lieutenant colonel. And when you put it in writing in front of your boss has to take action on it. If not, that's a fireable offense. Right now, there are people who are criminally negligent for what happened here. Criminally negligent. This is court-martial offense kind of stuff from top to bottom. This is an absolute failure of the American way of doing business in the military. This would never be accepted in any military that I was ever a part of. And I ain't that old, meaning that, there's no way somebody could tell me, yeah, all that logistical due diligence you did back in the day, we don't do that today because we don't fight those kind of sustained conflicts anymore. We go in big, we go in bad, and we get them to surrender early on. And so we have no need of that. And that's formally in doctrine. If you can show me it's formally in doctrine, then you might get away with it. But I can promise you that I'll pull out the doctrine for logistic support, and everything that applied 30 years ago applies today in spades.
Wow. Here's the president denying that there were ever any complaints about the USS Abraham Lincoln. Honestly, one of the more repellent things he's said. Let's take a look. Cue clip number 3. What on earth does he mean by that? No, they're not complaining.
The hell does
and
he mean?
250
No, they're not
days at sea isn't nearly long
and
enough.
200.
Well, first of all, we have to be careful here, Judge, because some of the photographs that are coming out being attributed to Abraham Lincoln are not attributed to Abraham Lincoln. They, photographs of dining facilities clearly show dining facilities that are not on a ship, and some of the aircraft that they show, one that had treat of Parsi, put it out there with stuff that is not on an aircraft carrier. That's not a carrier deployable thing that's on the ground. So we got to be careful about some of the evidence that's out there. But
Okay.
on the other hand, there's other evidence that appears to be real. We don't know what the truth is right now, but what we can say is when a president says no, they aren't deployed nearly long enough, it shows total detachment from reality. And again, this is Pete Hegseth's problem, and this is Kane, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff problem. We have a military today that is a modern military. Back when I was in the Marines, junior Marines couldn't get married, and there's a reason, because we were Marines and you deployed, you were in the field training, or you're on a ship, and we didn't want you complaining about, well, my wife this, my wife that. No wives. You had to get permission to get married. Why? Because we were an expeditionary force. This was called life. Today, no, we've gone completely different. The family is everything, which is, I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but that means now when you send an aircraft carrier out for a 6-month deployment, the family makes plans based on that. All the families make plans based on that. And when you start screwing up the deployment, you're screwing up family life. And family life is very serious to the men on the ship, because they're getting letters and phone calls and video calls about how school is screwed up and how they don't have enough money. The rent's due, the person's kicking them out of the house, and the military is not there to back them up. There is no battalion support plan to resolve all this. It's on you, the deployed sailor, to fix it, and you can't. And so now you're supposed to get up and do your job, while your wife's saying, if you don't solve this, I'm divorcing you and taking the kids and taking the house and emptying the bank account. Now, how can you do your job when your marriage has gone to hell in a half-basket? Donald Trump shows that he has absolute insensitivity to the reality of the modern day military. Yes, war can come and you have to extend a deployment. But when you do that, then your job as the president is to turn to the Secretary of Defense and say, make sure the families are taken care of. And then he turns to the component commander. They say, and he always gets down to the base commander, whose job it is. And you say, the base commander, I want a family support plan for here. I don't want a single case of a family falling apart because of lack of resources. All right, let's fix this thing. Let's get it up there. And if it costs money, it costs money. That's leadership. We have zero leadership in the military today. Zero leadership. These are all careerists who are afraid to rock the boat, and their whole job is to be yes, man, 3 bags, yes, sir, 3 bags full, sir, to Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth. It's high time somebody stand up to them and say, this is not how you do business. This is not right, what you're doing. And the president's comment about they aren't deployed long enough, only a fat, obese man with bone spurs who never deployed to Vietnam would ever make that kind of statement.